Welcome to the Slade Ham experiment. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Midnight Spaceship. Lit up. It's all adrift in the middle of the day. It's a weird time for the spaceship to be lit up. So, whatever this is, a shiny lilac behind me. I'm drinking coffee right now, perking myself up. It's been an unexpectedly busy weekend, so lots of coffee for me. If you want to send me coffee, I'm interested. I would love to drink some coffee from your region. That's something that began on this show. And and then I picked some more up from my buddy Jerry Wayne Longmire, and I always bring it back from around the world. I think I did a whole episode on coffee once. Yeah, we should do that. And then there's that new helmet. I mentioned that last week. Somebody else, I'm gonna forget your name. Of course I am. Wanted a tour of the studio. I don't know how to give a tour of the studio, but then I was kind of looking around. I was like, man, there's some really cool stuff in this place. So maybe I will. If there's anything you want to ask about that you've seen in the background, maybe I'll elaborate on it, or maybe I'll do a Slade runner just on the studio. There's really some cool stuff in here. Maybe I'll do that. Who knows? We'll see. So here's what's going on this weekend. I'm gonna be so tangential, and I just apologize in advance. I don't know where we're going, but maybe we'll get there. I had the weekend off. I finished that special, and I've been in such a blissful place. I know I've said this before. The happiest I have been in my entire life. Every box checked in the right way. Everything, all the chess pieces where they should be on the board. Got the special recorded and intentionally have left my fourth quarter wide open. Ask me what's on the books for fourth quarter. Ask me what comedy dates I have booked right now. Zero. None. That's why I don't talk about them on the show. There's nothing to tell you, but it's on purpose. I'm not just out of options. I'm waiting. Make some decisions. And I want some time off. I want to breathe. So, blah, blah, blah. Saying all that to say, I've had the weekend off. Sunday, usually sacred Sunday for me. I usually do nothing. Not nothing, but I don't turn my phone on. I don't communicate with people. I'm unreachable. The people who matter most to me would know how to get a hold of me if they needed to, but they know not to because it's my Sunday. So I get the phone call Saturday night. I got Saturday off. I'm just kicking it. And the Improv, there's only a couple of clubs in Houston now, the secret group, the little one that I work out at, but I can go up there anytime. But the Improv is the good club. If you live in a big city, you know, the Improv. They book the celebrity acts. I work there maybe twice a year. Usually twice a year I do my big show, like a solo show there. And then I do weekends when someone comes through that I know. So I'm on the couch, and I get a text message. And when you get a text message from a comedy club Saturday night at I think it might have been 7:30, that just says, "Are you in town?" And I didn't know what they were about to ask me. I didn't know what I knew it was immediate. I knew whatever they were going to ask me was going to be right then. But I didn't want to move. I was so comfortable on my couch on a Saturday night for the first time in months. And of course I sent back. I didn't even look up what was happening there. I just said yes. And they go, "Hey, can you come in and feature for Cristela Alonzo?" And Cristela and I don't know one another. But she's a Texas comic. She's a feel-good story for me. She's a woman in her 40s who comedy popped. It worked. And she's from Texas. You know, she's a Valley girl. That's a stupid cord keeps hitting me in the leg. She's a Valley girl from the RGV. So I get the phone call, and I go, "Sure." But then as I'm driving up there, I'm thinking to myself, why are they calling me on? What happened to, did they fire somebody? Turns out some medical issue. I won't get into the details, but Saturday night, it was just kind of a minor thing. And the dude had to go, they were going to get him checked out, but they needed somebody to cover the late show. So I came in, and then I ended up picking it up Sunday night too. That's where I'm getting to. The coolness of it was I was off. I had nothing going on. I was I don't really want to go up. I hadn't been on stage since the special. I'm rusty. You're calling me 20 minutes before the show. They tell me, and this is how this is the comedy business. So this is like the behind the scenes conversation. And this isn't abnormal. And this isn't the club being weird or anything being unprofessional. This is how shit goes in stand up. My whole life, my whole career. I get this text that says, "Are you in town?" And I send back yes. And they go, "All right, we need a feature. We need someone to cover the feature spot for Cristela Alonzo. We got to wait till she gets off stage to confirm. Hang tight." So that's 7:30. She goes on stage at, 8. She gets off stage, 8:30. So I got to wait for the whole 7 o'clock show to end. And then it'd be like 8:30, and then them ask her. And then she says, "No, I'll just do a solo show." And that's when I get back. Oh, well, okay. And then I take my shirt back off, and I flop back on the couch, and my phone goes off again. Beep. Actually, she said she'd like somebody to do 10 in front of her. Now, here's the thing about this. This is a great scenario if I'm getting the feature spot. If I'm only doing 10 minutes and it's just me in front of her, this is terrible. And not terrible for any reason other than when you're in front of a crowd of that improv sold out, which is what it was, 450 people. Your first 5 minutes are going to suck. They're not necessarily going to be bad, but they're not going to be what the rest of the show will be. Because the crowd is getting settled. They also have in their head that the first dude always sucks. That's old school comedy. The first guy's terrible, but it gets better until we get to the headliner. Plus, I'm not the guy they came to see. They came to see her. And they're getting seated. They're getting settled. Everybody's a little chatty, trying to figure out. These people aren't in a comedy club all the time. We gotta establish rules and just protocol. So I knew I was going to be sacrificing my first 5 to 7, just getting them organized and facing forward and laughing in a rhythmic manner. That leaves me like 3 minutes to do, but whatever. I'd already said yes. And long story short, I get out there. Cristela gave me 20 minutes. It was a great, both shows, fantastic. She brought in a great audience. I had a wonderful time. But last night, because I was wired after the show, you can't just, I don't know if you've ever been on stage, you've ever been a performer, but it does something to your, I'm assuming, your adrenaline and cortisol levels. Because you're rightfully on high alert. It's you versus a crowd, man. I had to deal with a stupid chick Sunday night. And I had to do it with my hands tied, too. She was in the last 3 minutes of my stupid show. And she yipped something out. I turned the crowd on her. I spun it. It was some verbal aikido. But I also couldn't do what I wanted to do. But if you've ever been in front of an audience, now that I think about it, it's not just being on stage. That was for sure what kept me amped last night. So those levels spike. So last night after the show, we're walking out, and I realize it's still kind of early. It's like 9:30, man. So we walk over, and Oppenheimer is showing, and I hadn't seen it yet. I'm a Christopher Nolan fan. And I won't, there's not much to spoil. It's a biopic. Biopic? I say biopic. Biopic sounds way cooler. Biopic sounds more biological. Sounds like something a surgeon would use. Hand me the biopic so I can get the bio out of the biopic. Whatever. A movie about a dude's life. So it is spectacular. And I say spectacular because it sounds impossible that a 3-hour movie that is basically just conversations and some shaking and rattling. But that's for 3 hours. And I was into the night, watched the last film of the day, was awake through the whole thing. Now, here's why for me. I don't know how this plays with a regular audience, with civilians in all the different places. Because I happen to have a little bit of, there's a lot of math and science in this. Not actual math, but allusions to math, and a lot of scientists, I almost said from antiquity, from the recent past. So if you don't know anything about those scientists, right? If you don't know Bohr, if you don't know Feynman, if you don't know Heisenberg, if you're not privy, everybody knows Einstein, but if you're not privy to those, when they make appearances in the film, there's no real aha moment. It's not like a superhero cameo. The other place you would be really intrigued by this would be the directorial notes that when you're a director, when you're Christopher Nolan, when I watch the credits to this film, and at the end, when it's all done, and it says directed by and written by Christopher Nolan, I think we dismiss that way too quickly. This makes me, all right, I want to talk about the cast because it's incredible. But this directorial stuff is so much more. All right, I'm going to come back to this. Christopher Nolan, you're most important. This cast is insane. Everybody who's ever been an actor is in this movie. It's ridiculous. Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Gary Oldman, Rami Malek, Matt Damon, Kenneth Branagh. How do you pronounce his last name? Branagh? Kenneth Branagh. Are you kidding me? And every time someone turns around, Casey Affleck, it's just another dude you know. I think there's another Skarsgård. It's so many people in there. Robert Downey Jr., he's such a good actor, man. Here's how convinced. I was so surprised when I saw him in this movie because, to be honest, Endgame was so convincing, I thought Robert Downey Jr. was dead. That's so when he popped up in this, I was like, what is he, CGI? Did they bring him back? Like Peter Mayhew, Peter Cushing? Grand Moff Tarkin. It's an astounding cast. It's so good. Every conversation, it's just riveting. I loved it. But when you take into account that Christopher Nolan had to take a dude's life, a scientist's life, and turn that into a story that everybody on the planet would enjoy is incredible. That's if you were just writing it and trusting someone else to take that written version, like someone did with the book, the biography on Oppenheimer. Nolan took that and converted it, but into a 3-hour screenplay, which is plus using all of these transcripts from all of these interviews, and he turned that into 3 hours of fascinating. And what's brilliant about that is not only did you learn to focus, he mastered the art of focusing on what's important in a story, on what makes a compelling narrative. That's just the written part. But what we don't consider all the time about directors, and I've learned this now that I've started working on some film stuff. I've started being on film sets. I've started watching some directors. I've started to pay attention to what you actually have to do if you're going to put your name after the word director. I know with stand-up comedy, right? I'm picking camera angles. We're choosing lenses. I'm deciding what we're cropping into. I'm deciding how all of that's going to work, and then I'm deciding how we're hanging on all that in the edit. I know what I'm doing there. But when you think about a film, do you know how much we take for granted, I think, in how films are made and TV in general? That every single shot you see, every image on the screen was envisioned by a director. Not completely by himself. He's working with cinematographers, camera ops, but he's seeing this picture, and realizing that this goes from here to here to here, and that we're going to come in and look at this guy, this establishing shot here, and then we're going to come in close and follow him to the cabin, and then the cabin door is going to open, and you're going to see him. We're going to have the camera on the inside. Someone's got to think of every single one of those shots. Every cool new way a villain gets thrown through a New York City skyscraper. There's only so many ways you can do that. But where the camera is for all of that, how it follows the action, how it zooms in when it needs to, how it focuses on emotion or picks up the gun that was dropped. Certain obvious things. Some of that's always done better by better directors than other directors, right? Those who know how to make it subtle. Those who know how to, you know what I mean? Give me a Usual Suspects all day, every day. Give me something Rian Johnson did. Those glass onion things. That's such sharp directorialship, and we gloss over it so often. And it makes me think about how much I don't really pay attention to about basically everything else in the entire world, right? If I think about how much, and this is what I was saying, I know a couple of things about filmmaking, and I know a couple of things about science. That's why watching Oppenheimer for me was very, very cool. I'm watching what Nolan's doing. I'm also watching kind of the history of something I sort of know unfold in dramatic style. But do regular people, I mean, obviously this film's made a ton of money. That's how good it is. You should go see it. But when it comes to the directors and things of that nature, you go, how much do I not realize is actually happening underneath the surface? The same thing with dentists or physicists, you know? I used to think that directing was sitting in a chair and telling people to be sadder. No. All right, do the same thing but sexy. When you get mad, be like, ah, instead of, ah, you know, like you were telling them what you were trying to capture. That's so not really, I mean, I'm sure that's totally part of it, I'm sure, if you're on Hollywood set, but it's also not really the job. You're letting the actors do their thing, and you're capturing it, and it's not what I thought. I think about construction, how much I take for granted. I don't know anything about anything. I don't know how my house is built. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't know what's important. I wouldn't know what a load-bearing wall is. I'd just be knocking stuff down. Oops, the house collapsed. If I had to wire things, I don't understand how any of that works. People come in here and manipulate electricity, thousands of millions, I don't know, volts. I don't even know how the words to use to describe the thing they're doing, but they're messing with something primal, right? It comes from the sky. And we're capturing it, we're running it through our walls, and we're lighting our planet up with it, and I don't know how any of that works. And those are just vocations. Those are just things, skills, things you could understand on a deep level. And then you take that and you slide it over, you overlay it on people. And you think about how varied we are, right? How absolutely, as much as you can drill down deep in any one of those different vocations, think about how much you don't know about stand-up comedy that I do, that I deeply understand. Think about what you do for a living and how in 20 years or 15, 10 years, however long you've been doing it, you're a lawyer, how deeply you understand that and the machinations of it all. And all of us have a couple of things like that you can double click on, and they got depth, man. Your job's one of them. The way you have your interpersonal relationships, another. Your religion might be a huge one, right? Something is ingrained in your life. Think about all the different ways, the things that matter to people. That's where the source of so much of our conflict is, because we can't understand why other people don't care about the same stuff we do. And I've made this point 1,000 times before. There's only so many things you can care about. And we get along best with the people where we overlap on a couple of those things. So when we're staring face to face with someone we can't wrap our brains around, I'm going to give you an example. This is an article I read. This I don't even know what made me click on it, but I had it saved in my docs this week about how people celebrate birthdays. I'm gonna use this one girl as an example. I used to go out of the country every now and again. It was a thing I do now. I don't really care. Let's talk about Cassandra, 24, a self-proclaimed birthday person. This is off bustle.com. This is some bullshit site. For her 21st birthday, she threw a 4-day bash that consisted of, a baseball game, a night at a bar, a nice dinner, and a themed party. Cassandra has no friends. This year, she's planning to ring in 25 with 6 friends. 6 friends. They must be new. 6 friends on a 5-day trip to Mexico. And 5-day trip to Mexico for her birthday. The festivities don't end there, though, because the trip doesn't even fall on her actual birthday, which means she'll have another round of plans for the big day. Oh, Cassandra. Despite her extensive commitment to these celebrations, Cassandra didn't always consider herself a birthday person. As the youngest of 6 kids, she didn't grow up with big parties every year. Oh, poor Cassandra. It wasn't until some of her older siblings had moved out and her mom gave her 16 gifts. One for every day leading up to her 16th birthday. What could be wrong with this generation? That her view of the day began to change. I think that was the catalyst for me. Okay, wait, I love my birthday now, Cassandra says as she rips open the paper on her 25th gift on her 25th birthday on the 25th floor of the 25th highest hotel in Mexico with her 6 friends. There's probably a piñata and a stripper or whatever else you get when you're 25. You see what I mean? Think about people like this and how hopefully disconnected you are with their way of viewing the world. How deeply they might see things differently than you or I do. And it's hard to envision that. That's the reason I swear to you, that's the reason I travel. It's the reason I like going places. As introverted as I may be, it's the reason I like being around other people and the reason I like to shut my mouth when I'm around them. If you've ever seen me traveling, I'm very quiet a lot of the time. Because I'm trying to understand the way someone's looking at the world, how they got their things aligned, what their 6 or 7 things are, how they've kind of pieced their worldview together. Maybe it's better than mine. Maybe it brings them more peace. Maybe it leads them closer to happiness. Maybe that's interesting to me. Maybe I want to just consider it. So I don't like a lot of labels. I don't like being this or that or someone, or at least self-identifying as, because then you're stuck with that. I don't like that. I like to see a lot of different ways of doing it. I think, I can't remember what I've said on here and what I can't, but I always did this as a kid, as a grown-up too, and I can't find, there's a quote that I can't find. I'll come back to it. When I'm in the car and I drive by people, I try to make my face look like their face, like scrunch it up or something. Get my posture the way theirs is. And it changes the way I feel. I feel like they feel. I certainly feel different, right? Like if you put your posture up in a certain way, and I do this English character on stage in this bit about the American Revolution, which sounds stupid and boring, but it's really about something different. But the point is, when I do this, I go, hello, and I kind of do this dumb, like, what's the word, bucktooth, no chin, kind of chicken head, and I do the neck, and I feel like a Minuteman. I feel like I'm in the Revolutionary. I feel like a completely inept Englishman in 1770, whatever. Is that when we fought it? And then I become me again. And I swear, someone please look this up for me and find it. I know I've only read like one other thing. This isn't like mirroring or whatever from all that, Tony Robbins stuff. It's That's a whole different intentional, or unintentional kind of subtle way of manipulating people. This is like it's a totally different thing. But the only thing I've ever read about it that even remotely reminded me of it, I swear, was Edgar Allan Poe saying he used to do it. But then I don't know how to search that. Have I said this before? Am I having deja vu? Did we just jump timelines? Is that what just happened? Did we just skitch over to another thread in the multiverse? I don't know. Some of this stuff I think about repeatedly. It's ridiculous. I want to turn this off so bad. I don't know whether to blame the coffee or my job. Anyway, thanks for letting me talk it all out. I got cool stuff around the corner. To Cristela Alonzo's fans, any of you that just found me, thank you. Y'all were cool. It was that was a pleasure. And Cristela is I'd never seen her before. A really good storyteller. I was actually, I don't like comedy. I don't watch comedy, but I sat in the room and was entertained, and I'm appreciative of that. So, cheers to surprise good weekends and all the weird stuff in our brains, and to double clicking on stuff and getting a little deeper and realizing that we're just doing it one way. There's a lot of these others out there, and they're worth maybe giving a test drive. I don't know. I like you guys. You're the best. Click the sub button, and I'll see you on another episode of The Experiment.